Hi, this is Tisch Aitken, and it is Friday, May 12th, 2023, and we have very powerful energies at play. We had a second eclipse last week on May 5th, which was a lunar eclipse at 14 degrees and 58 minutes of the fixed water sign of Scorpio. And that is right by the world axis, meaning that it's just 2 minutes away from a world point that hits all of us. Whenever a planet or a transit or an eclipse hits at the world axis, that's a big deal. And in this case, it's 15 degrees of the fixed signs: Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And that is very powerful. The full moon in Scorpio is really powerful. The moon does not like being in Scorpio. It is in its fall position. It's a painful placement. It's dealing with issues perhaps you've buried. It's painful buried wounds that we deal with. It's also it deals with intimacy. It deals with money and joint resources and taxes and debt and credit and mortgages and loans, all of that. And it also deals with joint partnerships and partnering with others financially and intimately. But this has been a heavy time. The first eclipse was at 29 degrees of Aries, where currently Jupiter, the great benefic, is transiting. Jupiter is about to change signs and enter Taurus. But in my opinion, that eclipse was also 0 degrees of Taurus, because it was only 10 minutes away from being in the sign of Taurus, and therefore squaring and setting off Pluto, the planet of death and regeneration, at 0 degrees of Aquarius. Now we fast forward to where we are. We had a lunar eclipse a week ago, the same week that Pluto, the planet of power and domination and big money and emotional intimacy and pain and healing and empowerment and transformation. We want to look at the positive terms. I certainly do. Pluto stationed retrograde on May 1st at 0 degrees and 21 minutes of the fixed air sign of Aquarius. We feel the buildup 5 days before and 5 days after. So during this eclipse season, we had a personal planet retrograde on the day following the first eclipse, which was April 20th, 420. Hey man, that was the total solar eclipse in Aries, Taurus, the final degree of Aries, where Jupiter's transiting. On the following day, on April 21st, Mercury retrograded at the world point at 15 degrees and 38 minutes of Taurus. Again, 15 degrees of the fixed signs, the world point, hitting every one of us. A retrograde energy during eclipse season. Then last week, Pluto retrograded. We feel the buildup of outer planets when they station direct or retrograde 5 days before and 5 days afterwards. Pluto initially dipped into Aquarius on March 23rd. It's going to re-enter the sign of Capricorn on June 12th. And it's going to be transiting in the final degrees of Capricorn. So it's wrapping up that story of restructuring, of outdated paradigms and models and structures under which we all operate. Those are morphing into new things, or they're ending, or they're dying, or again they're transitioning in the Aquarian energy, because we just finished the new age of Aquarius when Saturn, which is the structure, met up with Jupiter, which is the vision. The two met up on December 20th of 2020 at 0 degrees of Aquarius. Well, guess what? That's where Pluto's transiting at the moment. This is a big story which is evolving to a whole other level with the Pluto transit. And Pluto is not done with Capricorn, with many of the structures in our world and in our lives even, but it's giving us a little bit of a break. It's also interesting, I've talked about it before, but last week during the Pluto station, that one of the grandfathers of AI came out to talk about the dangers of AI and of the fact that it could take away humanity, and it can be very frightening. And that's been scaring me a lot, because I think the focus is so much on mental health with Saturn in Pisces. And Saturn entered Pisces on March 7th, and that was the same month that Pluto changed signs and entered Aquarius. Very, very different energies, because Saturn in Pisces is really focusing on a soul-based level and on depression, on mental health issues, on addiction, on the arts and creativity and compassion. Aquarius is genius and ingenuity and science and technology. But in times that preceded, social media, a lot of the Aquarian energy was done organically. My father had Aquarius rising, and he always had a business card on him in any outfit he was wearing. He was always looking for an opportunity to network. And that is, you should still think of that way, even with marketing, as much as it's going to change and has been changing and people are overwhelmed in this time. Always think of ways in organic time, organic methods to network and connect, because I think building community in organic ways in real life is so central to our getting through and dealing with Pluto in Aquarius, because we're not done with it. It leaves on June 12th. It returns in January of next year, and it transits in Aquarius through January of 2044. So in 21 years, we're still wrapping up the Pluto and Aquarius story. And I also think the fact that Mars was in Gemini for so many months, it was in Gemini from October 20th, I think the 28th, I'm trying to remember. It was in Gemini, August 20th through March 26th, a really long time, and out of bounds for a good portion of it. But in Gemini focuses on local community and communication and small businesses and dealing with local neighborhoods. And I think that's a big way for all of us, with the Aquarian energy, with Saturn and Pisces, so much focus on mental health and depression and alienation and anxiety. I had a 45-minute conversation with a woman the other day. I changed my cable, my internet situation, and I have to say it was actually a really pleasant experience. You never think you'd say that, but we talked for a long time, and we shared something, and she mentioned that her son had gone through something. He went through something horrific in October, and then he overdosed in February, and he's trying to get himself together. But we talked about how difficult a time it is. She was so upbeat and helpful. And, we talked about the fact that mental health is so critical right now, and it's a very tough time. And it was nice to talk to somebody that had really good interpersonal skills and was listening to me and was responsive and accessible, because we need access to people. And yes, I think there are some interesting things, obviously professionally and in many other ways, to deal with Pluto entering Aquarius and with other trends that are upcoming. But let's focus on what is at hand, if I can speak. So today, Mercury formed a helpful aspect to Saturn, very stabilizing energy, and that occurred at 4:42 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Later tonight, Mercury forms a sextile to Venus. They are in harmony. Good communication, creative, loving, romantic energy. That occurs at 10:44 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Venus is working up to a trine to Saturn. That is when two planets are 120 degrees apart. That is a beautiful energy, very lucky and happy, and that is structuring Venus, structuring love and what you value. This is a good day to communicate with others and to network. Then on, let's see, on Sunday, we have Mercury stationing direct at 11:17 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at 5 degrees and 51 minutes of the fixed Earth sign of Taurus. And now we get to revise some of the things we worked on during the eclipse season, because Mercury was already in its shadow and it retrograded the day after the first eclipse on April 20th. Mercury is now direct. It does not clear its shadow until May 31st, when it exceeds 15 degrees and 38 minutes of Taurus, the world axis, hitting all of us. More stories coming up in all of this, because that retrograde opposed the lunar eclipse. You know, Mercury retrograded at 15.5 degrees of Taurus, opposing 15 degrees of Scorpio. That brings a lot of information. The Sun met up with Uranus earlier this week. That's a lot of information. Jupiter, the planet of exaggeration and expansion, is now transiting at 29 degrees of Aries. That sets off the solar eclipse from April 20th, expanding the story and bringing a lot more opportunity with it too. But the other thing to bear in mind is that Jupiter is building up to a square to Pluto, because Jupiter is changing signs on May 16th. My cat's going crazy. I hope he cooperates. Come on, Billy. And that happens on, oh no, he's going to jump on the table, on May 17th. And that can be expansion. It can be very financially beneficial, but it could also be issues with debt on the collective scale and individually. Jupiter, Pluto are both planets associated with wealth, particularly when they are together. And Jupiter is going to be entering 0 degrees of a fixed sign, squaring Pluto. This is a time to evolve your power, your finances, and how you conduct your money and your business. But it's not all easy. Growing pains, you know. And then Jupiter enters, so that's perfecting on May 17th. Jupiter enters Taurus on May 16th at 1:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It transits in the sign of Taurus through May 25th of 2024. That is about expanding your skills, your talent, your resources. I look forward to Jupiter and Taurus. It's about being patient in the process, like Saturn and Capricorn. That was about building something. If you were really working with it in a very methodical way, it doesn't happen overnight. Jupiter is very expansive and abundant, but Taurus likes to do things slowly. It likes to take its time. This is about really focusing on what you want to magnetize. Jupiter will meet up with Uranus in the spring of next year. That could be incredibly innovative and exciting energy. There could be issues with inflation with Jupiter and Taurus in terms of our resources, agriculture, money. You know, there could be definitely things to do with inflation, but in the same vein, I think there could be, I feel it's a very abundant energy, but it takes its time. So really focusing on how you develop your skill set, your talents. It's definitely about the intellectual, with Pluto going in and out of Aquarius. That is evolving through your curiosity and learning and connecting with others. But in the same vein, Jupiter and Taurus, what do you want to grow? Think of a garden and you're planting seeds and you're watering the plants. Right now, I have a couple that got drenched by the sun, or well, no, I overwatered. I drenched them. Not me, not the sun, rather, it was me. But we've had kind of inconsistent weather, but there are 8 great ones, so they're doing well. A couple that I think are going to make it. So it takes time, and you don't want to put them out into too much sun. You don't want to overwhelm them. And in the same vein, for all of us, do it slowly. Put them in partial shade. Let them adjust. You adjust. And Jupiter changing signs is a big shift in energy. The ingress occurs again on May 16th at 1:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My cat's about to jump. Jupiter squares Pluto on May 17th at at drum roll. There he jumped. It occurs, oh gosh, I know it occurs on May 17th. I can't think of the time off of it. But it happens that date, and they are squaring one another at 0 degrees and 18 minutes of the fixed sign. So going back and defaulting back to December 20th of 2020 when, sorry, he's about to, hey, the microphone, so I've got to run. When Saturn and Jupiter met up at, they met up at 0 degrees of Aquarius, a new vision, a new story. Jupiter squaring Pluto, evolve that story and get my cat to stop. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.